So the world is reacting to Meghan Markle's exhaustingly sycophantic and woke new podcast where she ramps up the victimhood with her apparent BFF, Serena Williams. Despite them both being multi-millionaires, well, I've brought in the perfect person to review the first episode, her anti-woke sister, Samantha Markle, who joins me live from the US. Samantha, I have to say, this was one of the most nauseating, horrible things I've ever had to listen to in my entire life. Obviously, though, you are a Markle. So did you love it? What is your review, Samantha Markle?
Well, it's so funny. It was like so breathy and seductive, but neither of them are spring chickens. So the whole time I was fully expecting them to bust out in like a Saturday Night Live Dusty Muffin skit. It was kind of odd, it was just like so it sounded more like a seductive commercial of sorts than.
Yeah. Were you surprised, Samantha, that your sister tried to make out that she's some sort of repressed victim?
Well, I gotta say, I think I'm in agreement with the world. And here's the disclaimer, this is my humble opinion. It's rather lofty to suggest the ability to align with, issues of womanhood and suffering, on the grounds that, and she did bring up the fact that, she went to Immaculate Heart. And that they were empowered at Immaculate Heart by the nuns to be independent women. But wait a minute, who paid for Immaculate Heart? That was all my dad. So let's face it, we're not raised in a vacuum. There are others who help us along the way, who support us, who love us, who bring us up, and who pay for everything that gives us that platform, which was our father. So we have to include the men when we are self-glorifying. There's got to be some acknowledgement there.
Very true. Well,
Yeah.
Look, Samantha, I want to play you some key clips from the podcast and I'll get you to review as we go. So during the chat with Serena, she appeared to suggest that ambition, a term frequently used by her critics, is somehow sexist. Watch.
When Meghan Markle launched her new podcast, many expected headlines. But few expected the reaction to come from inside her own family. Over the years, Samantha Markle has become one of Meghan's most outspoken critics, repeatedly accusing the Duchess of Sussex of abandoning family members while carefully controlling her public image. Meanwhile, Meghan has largely kept her distance publicly, rarely responding directly to Samantha's interviews and accusations. But now, Meghan's latest podcast project has reopened old wounds once again. And according to reports, Samantha wasted no time reacting. Meghan's new podcast was intended to mark a fresh chapter. The project reportedly focuses on conversations surrounding identity, women's experiences, public pressure, and personal storytelling. Supporters praised Meghan's calm presentation style and polished production. But critics immediately accused the podcast of being overly scripted, image-focused, and disconnected from reality. Then Samantha Markle entered the conversation. According to multiple media reports and royal commentators, Samantha allegedly criticized Meghan's tone, messaging, and what she viewed as contradictions between Meghan's public image and private family relationship.
This message to me and my classmates was clear. Our futures, as young women, were limitless. Ambition? Well, that was the whole point. So I don't ever remember personally feeling the negative connotation behind the word ambitious until I started dating my now husband. And apparently ambition is a terrible, terrible thing. For a woman, that is, according to some. So since I felt the negativity behind it, it's really hard to unfeel it. I can't unsee it either in the millions of girls and women who make themselves smaller, so much smaller, on a regular basis.
So, Samantha, she seems to be trying to rewrite some of what she would say are misconceptions about her. Your take?
In my personal opinion, that feels like quite a bit of projection. on the grounds that I think for most women are raised to be ambitious and to, to climb the ladder. But I think there's been a lot of public scrutiny around how some go about climbing the ladder and about how some obtain that. And, as I mentioned about my father, we don't live in a vacuum. And so for many women, including herself, in my opinion, we have to be grateful to those who bring us up and who fuel our desires and ambitions. So, no, I don't feel that she ever felt that that was a negative thing. And I don't think it just began with marrying Harry. I think a lot of the controversy surrounding that had more to do with how the point that she got to seemingly on the laurels of others by becoming a royal.
And her ambition also saw her throw her blood relatives, you, her brother and her father, under the bus, right? That's the result of her ambition.
Exactly. And without my father, she wouldn't have this platform, whether it was the school, the, internship at the embassy. He gave her everything. And, everything she mentions seems to fall back on something that our father gave her or suggested.
But he's not even mentioned now because she wants to pretend he's not even there. Look, Meghan also took a swipe at the royal family, implying they forced her to continue royal engagements in South Africa after there was some sort of fire, apparently, although we don't actually know if it's true, in Archie's nursery. I thought this was the most egregious moment in the podcast. Have a listen.
What did we have to do? Go out and do another official engagement. And I said, this doesn't make any sense. Can you just...
Why did you not bring him?
I was like, can you just tell people what happened? And so much, I think, optically, the focus ends up being on how it looks instead of how it feels. And part of the humanizing and the breaking through of these labels and these archetypes and these boxes that we're put into is having some understanding on the human moments behind the scenes that people might not have any awareness of, and to give each other a break. Because we did. We had to leave our baby. And even though we were being moved into another place afterwards, we still had to leave him and go and do another official engagement.
I couldn't have done that. I was at
well.
But Samantha, she didn't have to do any of that, number one. She called the shots. Number two, there was no major fire. Archie was not in the room. Lots of people have near misses and have to go and do their job as a truck driver or working behind the checkout. I mean, to me, this felt like a deluded level of entitlement.
Some reports claim Samantha questioned Meghan's authenticity altogether. And once those comments started circulating online, social media exploded. Royal gossip channels quickly picked up the story. TikTok clips went viral. And comment sections became a war zone between Meghan supporters and critics. Samantha Markle has spent years accusing Meghan of rewriting family history. So when Meghan's podcast touched on themes like personal struggles, identity, and emotional hardship, Samantha reportedly saw an opportunity to push back publicly once again. According to commentators covering the feud, Samantha allegedly suggested Meghan presents herself very differently to the public than she does privately. Some royal critics supported Samantha's claims, arguing Meghan carefully curates her image through interviews, documentaries, and podcasts. Others strongly disagreed and accused Samantha of constantly inserting herself into Meghan's success for media attention. That divide has become central to the Markle family drama. Because depending on who you ask, Samantha is either a concerned family member exposing uncomfortable truths, or someone deeply bitter about Meghan's fame and royal status. And the internet remains completely split. Part of what makes this story so addictive online is how personal it feels.
Yeah, and oddly, I have to say, in several of the photographs I saw, Serena Williams seems to take her daughter with her everywhere she goes. And I've seen many jet setters who take their children with them. So I wasn't really sure what all of that we had to leave, the kids behind was all about. I didn't really believe it, but, and she did bring up a good point, though. She was talking about the archetypes, the boxes that we put ourselves in. Well, wait a minute, we got to go back to when she mentioned this in the TIG and in a lot of her PR, who told her about drawing your own box? That was Dad. Dad told her all about that and helped her to define herself and be stronger in that. So again, let's, pay the attribution where it appropriate should be placed. Yeah. I mean, and thank Dad, thank those who help us.
Very good point. There was also a really cringeworthy moment where she felt the need to involve her husband, Prince Harry, in the podcast that led to a very odd exchange, and I would say an awkward exchange between Prince Harry and Serena Williams. Have a listen.
Hi, you want to come say hi? Yeah. Look, she just popped in.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
How you doing?
Good, how are you?
I like what you've done with your hair. That's a great vibe.
Thank you. Good to see you as always. I miss you guys.
Well, come and see us.
I will.
I'll make a plan.
Have fun.
Thanks, my love.
Now, Samantha, I believe that you say that she has emasculated Prince Harry in some way. Well, what do you mean by that?
And I've got to say again, this is my opinion. Harry seems to play second fiddle, although, I think it didn't hurt to use the title and the royal marriage as a springboard. It certainly seems as though after the wedding was over, it feels as though Harry is in the shadow. Oh, let's let him pop in. Let's let, that all seemed very staged. But why have him in at all if he's not being included? It just seemed very, dismissive. And I felt kind of insulting, rather than have him included, have them talk about what's important in their lives now. It was really just kind of a lot of, feminine chit chat and purring that seemed very...
And do you want to know the thing that I found possibly most fascinating, Samantha, is that any time Serena Williams would tell a story of any form, Meghan's that sort of friend who has to come in, steal the thunder and say, I went through that, but what I went through was even worse. And there were times when she wouldn't even let Serena Williams utter more than 4 or 5 words at a time. It was all about her, me, Meghan.
Yeah, again, when we're talking about how we empower ourselves in our lives, we are human social creatures. We interact, we give and take, and we bring each other up, we grow together. So I think, in my opinion, she's missing the point. The accolades belong to Dad, her parents, her friends, family, those who love and support her, and who brought her up to where she is. We don't live in a me world. I'm sure indeed. There's an island somewhere that you could stick a sign in the sand that says me, but I don't think it really flies.
Well, I'd like to go to that island if it meant I never had to listen to another episode of her podcast. I found it sycophantically exhausting. But Samantha Markle, of course, you're our star reviewer tonight. So how many stars do you give the podcast Archetype by your sister Meghan Markle?
Oh, that's not a fair question. Ding, 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 ding. I give it 2.5 stars.
You're generous. You're more generous than me. I was 1 all the way.
Royal scandals are already dramatic enough. But when family betrayal, public accusations, and emotional interviews become involved, audiences become even more invested. For years, the Markle family feud has unfolded publicly through interviews, lawsuits, documentaries, and viral headlines. And unlike traditional royal controversies involving palace insiders, this drama feels raw, emotional, and deeply personal. Some viewers sympathize with Meghan and believe she's been relentlessly attacked by estranged relatives. Others believe the constant conflict surrounding Meghan raises serious questions about the relationships she leaves behind. That's why every new interview, podcast, or public appearance instantly becomes another battleground. And Samantha clearly understands how much attention these reactions generate. This latest controversy also highlights a bigger challenge Meghan Markle continues facing: public perception. Every project Meghan launches now comes with enormous scrutiny. Every statement is analyzed. Every interview is dissected online. And critics argue that ongoing family disputes continue damaging her credibility with some audiences. At the same time, supporters argue Meghan is held to an impossible standard and attacked no matter what she does. Meanwhile, Prince Harry has remained mostly silent regarding Samantha Markle specifically, even though family tensions continue dominating headlines. And the longer the silence continues, the more space there is for speculation, accusations, and viral controversy.